So my previous attempt failed, so I'm just going to keep this one brief. Here's some pins that I've had tarnish and or had to clean at various stages of time. In terms of the way that I go about cleaning, I think it's good to take sort of an approach of starting with the least impactful first and then sort of increasing the intensity of either the cleaning agent you're using or the force that you're applying, and that sort of thing. So the first thing that I just start with is a good old microfiber cloth. So this doesn't have anything chemicals added to it. If I say polishing cloth at any time during this video, I'm actually referring to just actually microfiber cloths, because they're the best at removing little itty bitty marks, or like say for instance fingerprint marks or things like that, from your pin. The next thing I would be using would be rubbing alcohol. I've got a little squeezy bottle of it here that I kind of chip onto the pins. In terms of glasses cleaning wipes, a lot of them are actually just alcohol based, so this is an example of one that I have. And of course it's not going to focus, but oh no, there we go. So you can see that's isopropyl alcohol, water, surfactant, and fragrance. So I generally don't really use pre-made wipes just because there's things they have in them that I don't want to be applying to pins, like water. In terms of applying water, it's not going to absolutely wreck your pin unless if it's an iron alloy base. The one way to find that out is by holding a magnet near to the pin, and if you feel any like interaction between the magnet and the pin, then it's probably iron alloy. A lot of other bases that are used, I believe, are like zinc alloy or nickel alloy. Those aren't as much of a problem. I have found that nickel alloy bases, when I've tried to polish them with more like intense polishing, like for instance a metal polish, they're more likely to get damaged. But it's kind of this sort of test, fuck around and find out really. So the next stage that I would be doing after rubbing alcohol is actually toothpaste. So this is just, a generic, simple, non-whitening, non-micro bead toothpaste. So micro bead toothpaste can potentially excessively scratch the surface of the pin, which you don't want. And for whitening toothpaste, I'm not exactly sure. It depends on the compound that they've got on them, but it could potentially wreck the pin. It's just a matter of staying on the safe side of things, really. And then my last ditch effort, if something was absolutely terrible, would be using metal polish. So I just use Autosol. You do want to be careful avoiding any metal polishes that have that are made for like gold or silver, just because like pins are plated metal, they're not actually solid metal, and so you can potentially wear down the plating or cause damage to the plating if you're using a polish that's made for solid metal instead of an alloy that's plated. So this example here is one that I keep on my bag. I actually tried to polish it in the previous video, and then all of my efforts have gone to nothing. But you can see that there's some really thin sort of lines over the center of the lantern here. And that's basically because on this one I have to use a metal polish because the very first time I cleaned it I was too overzealous and I damaged the plating. So this one gets really easily oxidized. It is also gold, rose gold, which I find does not cooperate with me, but that's I think just because of the climate I live in, because I'm coastal. So you do have to be careful with platings that are not gold, because I'm not sure if it's part of the manufacturing process or it's just the compound that's used for gold instead of rose gold or other platings. But gold generally lasts a little bit longer, I feel. In terms of this one, it's gorgeous, but I'm not sure if it was the person who previously owned it or the manufacturer, but there's actually some scratches. Let me try and... There's some scuffing on the back piece, and it's actually really hard to see in video, which is fortunate because it drives me nuts, but you can also see that there's a little bit of oxidization at the top here. So you do want to be careful in terms of using a cloth instead of like a toothbrush or something that's quite abrasive, because it will scratch a pin. And especially for large areas of metal, you do want to be careful. But kind of the first step that I would be doing with this one is just wiping down with the cloth, going in circular motions, round and round. That's not really helping. You can actually kind of see it on a better angle here, those like circular scuffing. So you can tell that, well, because manufacturers still sort of buff down plating, but I'm not sure if that's the manufacturer's fault or another person's fault, but it's kind of, yeah, going in circular motions. The others, in terms of, you can see that there's some like, well, you can't see them, but there's some slight scratches on these. You can attempt to buff out scratches with like toothpaste or a metal polish, but I would be careful, just because you can add more scratches if you're too overzealous, or even if you just get like a little speck of, I don't know, something on the cloth, and then you're basically rubbing that around on the pin. But yeah, if I come back and I just add a teeny bit of toothpaste, I'll show you how much I put on. I generally also use less metal polish than I do toothpaste, just for reference, but I'm just gonna zoop, and I'm just gonna kind of wipe that off. That's still too much. I'm gonna rub that into the cloth, just because the more toothpaste you have, the more annoying it is to buff out. And also, you've got to be careful about whether you will like get it caught in the crevices of pins, because this Nezuko up here, actually, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like in this bottom corner here, that little white part there is actually toothpaste, because I tried to clean her and I had a teeny bit too much toothpaste on my cloth and it got stuck in the flowers. So now there's a permanent testament, a minty testament to my mistakes. So I'm just going to buff in small circles around the top here. I'm going to be particularly light-handed, just because, sorry, it's flashing a little bit because it's trying to autofocus. Really careful, just because this one is already scuffed, but also if you've got like a nice plating, sometimes you're better off having a little bit of imperfections. No pin is perfect anyways. I just got some toothpaste on the back of Hualian's head. Yeah, and so just kind of buffing away, and then you get like a clean part of the cloth, and then just go over it to remove the toothpaste. So I wouldn't use water. You can, in terms of like, if I really wanted to, I could put some water on the bottom of Nezuko's one and then wipe it off really sort of diligently, but I just generally avoid using water because it can make it oxidize or tarnish more easily, more quickly. So that's kind of got rid of some of the major spots. There's still some little spots in there that are really hard to get rid of, and I don't want to go in heavy-handed with the metal polish, just because at this stage with this particular pin it will probably scuff things a little bit worse. But yeah, I would stake with kind of starting off really light, doing patch tests if you can, but there's only so much patch testing you can do before sorry guys, before you can potentially damage the pin anyways. You've just got to kind of be careful. Obviously it's a little bit inevitable. This one here, so this is a nickel plating, I think. I could do a very long rant about the different types of plating as well, because I'm a little bit crazy about pins. You can kind of see there's some spots here, but like in terms of my process, I would firstly go, all right, let's wipe that down. In that case, that has removed the spots. There's just one right on the edge here. That's some toothpaste on my finger. No, it's not. Yeah, so there's like this tiny little spot on the edge there that I can't quite get rid of, but I would be hesitant to use any polish just because it's so teeny as well. Like if you have that on a board, you're not going to see that really, unless if you're like me and you're staring at your boards for a long period of time, then you might. But yeah, I would just be careful, patch test, don't use water. Also kind of check what chemicals are in what cleaning agents you're using. And honestly, toothpaste, I know it's anecdotal, but I know that a lot of other collectors as well also use toothpaste, and it works quite well. So just kind of start from the basics, cloth, alcohol. You can also use acetone or toluene, like in nail polish removers, but keep them clear of screen print. Do not let them get anywhere near screen print because they will take the screen print off. The same with toothpaste. Anything that's an abrasive and or like a chemical solvent will mess up your screen print. Thankfully on Nezuko here, there's not so much loss of screen print because I was really careful along the bottom corner. But I have quite unfortunately removed some of the screen print I've moved intentionally, some I have removed much by mistake. So just kind of be careful. Yeah, and if you have any questions, there's always